Mark, thank you for being here, buddy. I think we'll kick straight into how did you meet Lou and become a part of Westside?
Well, thanks for having me, Tom. Last time I had something this big and black in front of my mouth like this, I was about to get $20. I started lifting at Black's Health World up in Cleveland and did a first powerlifting meet. I was training with AJ, Angelo, Barinelli, who was a great powerlifter, John Florio, Haas, John Black. And I did a first powerlifting meet over at York Barbell. And this was like 98.
Okay.
And ran into Lou at that meet. And he said, hey, you got potential. Why don't you come on down and squat? Coming down on a Friday. And so I came down. And I saw how strong everyone was and the camaraderie. And I'm here like, oh, this is awesome. And then he said, well, you coming back or what? And then so... long story short, I'd drive down from Cleveland 2 to 3 times a week from then.
Who was in the group when you first came in?
Chuck, Louie, Dave Tate, Joe McCoy, Kenny Patterson, Mike Ruggiero, Rob Fusner, and Danny Blankenship. That was just in the morning crew.
Yeah. Did you train in the morning?
I trained in the morning, came down, woke up at 5, drove down, met Louie for breakfast and the guys for breakfast, and we'd go over and train.
What was that atmosphere like?
At the time, it's nothing that you can really compare now. It was just because now everyone has phones out to video and all that, and... it was nothing but ball breaking, cursing, betting, and loud music and heavy weights. Not to sound cheesy, but that's...
Were you able just to integrate straight away, or did you take a while to figure out how the group dynamic worked and how Louie worked?
No, like you pretty much knew your role. Like you were a guest. You had to be invited. There was plenty of people that would come down and train, and Louie said, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like, don't come back. So, but it's like, know your role, jabroni. You gotta earn your keep. You gotta be able to keep up with the crew.
So within that crew, was there any members that you trained with all the time?
Mostly Blankenship.
Okay.
When I first started out, because he was the 198er, the smaller one. And then I would start training with Lou, too, and best training partner you ever had.
Yeah.
All of them were the best. Like, you didn't have phones to, oh, let me see how I squat and all that. You relied on your training partners. You said, you got to sit back more. You got to flare your knees more, you know. You're bringing the bar too high, you know.
What was that like? Like, with training with Lou? How was he good as a training partner? Was he a coach first or training partner first, or was it all mixed into one?
Mixed into one. I mean, but we would constantly try to go back and forth and kill each other. Yeah. Like, oh, put a quarter on. Well, I'm putting a plate on, old man. Like, so, well, fuck that. If you're going to put a plate, then I'll put a plate and a quarter. Yeah. So, and there was no like, oh, put a 10 on or anything. It was quarters and plates.
Where and when did the name Chicken Hawk come from? Because you're one of the few people in Westside folklore that Louie has a bunch of Chicken Hawk stories that are... initially, you think these are all false, and then more and more come out of the closet. You're like, oh, this has to be true.
Well, I was the smallest one. Like, when I first started lifting there, I was 198. And I was the smallest one, and, you know, and up with the guys up at Black's, I'd write everything down. Like, I'd write my PRs down, write movements down that new movements or something that I felt worked in my training, something that didn't work. I'd write everything down. And do you remember that little Looney Tunes cartoon, that little Foghorn Leghorn, that little egghead guy? And then one time I said, we were lifting, and I said, fuck all you, I'm going to go eat me some chickens. And they said, oh, the little chicken hawk from Looney Tunes. And that's how it happened.
So now you're your alter ego's Chicken Hawk in the gym. How when you're surveying or like looking at everyone's roles, can you just talk about what everyone brought to the gym and why that? Because that's a very strong group of people, and how everyone's role affected how the gym trained.
Well, when you'd walk into the door, and this is the old club in Demarest, you know, it was a very small room, blacked out. There was no sign on the door. There was an address. We were next to, there was a pizza shop next to us and a corner store.
Okay.
And we were next to Section 8 housing. So it was no big deal if you'd see like drug deals going on around the corner and shootings from the previous night or something like that. But when you walked in the door, it's like you flip that switch and you bring your A game. You know, on the way down, I'd had a long ride and I'd picture my squats through my head, my benches through my head. And when you walk through that door, it's like time to go to war.
Yeah.
Because every member, whether they realized it or not, had a role, and that was to get stronger and get your training partners stronger. And the way we did it probably wasn't the most orthodox or ethical ways sometimes, but it worked.
Who were some of the biggest characters in the gym? Or was everyone their own?
Everyone was their own. Like you had Dave Tate's alter ego, Zippy, that would come out. Louie, he was a character.
Yeah.
Joe McCoy was the best shit talker ever. Rob Fusner was quiet. Oh, and there was John Chester Stafford. But kind of quiet. Stafford was kind of quiet.
Yeah.
But strong as fuck. And you'd want to keep up with him. I mean,
what are some of the most impressive things you saw within the gym?
Chuck squatting was always impressive. A lot of deadlifting that was, and we didn't have the radical gear that they have now, like the bench shirts now that are just
ridiculous.
Exactly. Yep. We didn't have squat suits. I think I saw maybe 1 or 2 denim suits in a meet.
Yeah.
But none in training. You know, when we squatted, it was an old France suit with straps down. And the amount of weight that was being moved was impressive.
What made Chuck so impressive to watch squatting?
His attitude, number one. Like, he feared no weight. A lot of people didn't fear any weight. You couldn't be scared. You had to believe in yourself. But the form and technique was impeccable. I mean, look at it when in his meets. How he squatted in his meet is how he squatted in the club. Mm-hmm. You know, perfect technique, perfect form.
Who was his training group?
He trained with us, Rob Fusner, Chester, and Mike Rogeria.
That's a strong, strong.
I mean, that
group
was
people.
Like close to 1,000-pound squatters right there.
What sort
and hell of a deadlifter too. All great deadlifts too.
Well, there's that. We had that one of Chuck rack deadlifting over 1,000.
Mm-hmm. Without straps too. Mm-hmm.
What was some of the most impressive experiments that you've seen? Because you were part of that group where bands started coming in really.
Yeah, we used chains.
Yeah.
And then we started using bands. Dick Herzl gave them to Lou and said, hey, experiment with these, see what you can do. And our squats took off from there. We would use weight releasers too a lot. You don't see that too often, but it was a way where you can overload your central nervous system, overload your squat, and then use that. Yeah, exactly. Yep. And then the bands with the accommodating resistance were probably the best way. You're like, oh my goodness! Like
when they were first introduced, what was that like? Was there, like, from what I gather, no one knew the maximal bounds of them, so it was just put as many on as see what you can do.
Yes, exactly. And then there was also times when we would loop a band around our belt and around our feet, and like, wow! And then using the bands on while squatting, while having that loop through and you're like, oh, And trying to walk after that was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell did we just do?
Was training in the gym more fun than going to the meets, or was it all, or going to the meet, was that as fun or more fun than the gym?
Squat days were always fun because we'd be betting and talking shit to each other.
How much bets would be?
Well, I remember when Dave Tate bet against me one time, and I mean, like, there's no fucking way I'm losing to him. And banged my head on the bar a couple times and got it. And I heard one of the most satisfying, fuck, he got it. So, but the meets were always fun. We'd always talk shit. Like, someone in our weight class we'd be going against, and they'd do their warm-up squats. Go, oh shit, that looks pretty heavy. I don't know. So.
It seemed from when Lou would talk, especially about you, most of the stories that came from Chicken Hawk was in the trip. Was there was one when you burnt the clutch out of one of his trucks?
Well, we weren't driving at that time, in all fairness. And it wasn't the clutch. It was his, his Suburban. And him and Dave had a meeting at York Barbell, and they left me in the truck. And it was fucking hot. So I turned the key thinking, I'll sit with the air conditioning on.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't turn the key enough and blew the truck up. That story's true. And I was thinking, oh shit, Lou's gonna kill me. But in true, Lou just said, goddamn Chicken Hawk. Yeah. And we went and got the oil change and stuff. And we made it home okay. It was a good meet.
Did you drive a truck off a ramp too?
I may have. I
think it was at York, because there looked like a hill and you went up over it. I've heard that story. I've heard the story of you turning off the camera. I've heard of you breaking the monitor.
Motherfucker, I did not turn that camera off. That was Lou. He said, Chicken Hawk, you stay away from that camera. I didn't go near that camera. I didn't turn the camera off. That was Lou.
According to him, that they're like 13 or 14 sets in, they come back and they go to edit the video and there's no file there.
Well, there was one time when we were videoing a squat day, and he was sending the tape to, I think it was Alabama or
video data probably.
So we were in the background, you hear my voice, come on, motherfucker, you fucking cocksucker. And then we'd be throwing 20s on the box, seeing if they'd get it. And then we took it back to Lou's house to watch it. He's like, there's no way in hell I could send this with everything that's going on. So that happened.
Is there any trips that are in your memory, like, oh, that was fun?
They were all fun in their own way, but the one time we went down to a bench meet to Orlando, and George, there's a couple guys from Westside, I think Kenny, George, were benching, and a hurricane was coming in. And Tony Ramos was already down there. He picks us up at the airport and said, I don't know if this meet's going to get in, because it was just nothing but wind and rain. And right in the middle of the bench meet, because it was like an Orlando city, and the police came in and said, there's a hurricane coming, we're shutting this down. It's being used as a hurricane shelter. And so they said, everyone out. And then the meet director said, can't we just finish up the meet? And no, get out or we're going to arrest you. So we drove back in the rain from Orlando to Columbus with Tony Ramos, his daughter, Drex was in it. Who else? Louie. There were some other people too, and I can't remember. And we were following George Helbert and Fred Bolt back. And I may have said, I forgot that Tony Ramos's daughter was in the car, and I may have said one or two things that she's probably still getting counseling for today.
The one addition Louie gave, because what people I don't think understand is, when you're a part of Westside, people know you by whatever nickname, no idea who you are, and really have no idea about your life a whole lot. They just know you coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, when you're talking, you said that you have a college degree, and he goes, "You went to college?" And he's like, "Yeah." After I got out of the Marines, he's like, "You were in the Marines?"
Yeah.
And that's when I found out more about Chicken Hawk.
Yeah. Like, you have a girlfriend? You're married? What? Yeah. Well, that was the funny part about Lou. Like, he didn't care about your personal life. As long as you contributed to the club, getting strong, making progress, getting your elite, getting records. He didn't care what you did. You could be a fucking serial killer.
Yeah.
But you had to contribute. If you didn't contribute, you're out. But yeah, it was one of the drives out to a meet where I'm like, well, I remember when I was in college. You were into college? Like, I'm here like, yeah. And, well, when'd you go to college? Like, after I got in the Marines. You're in the Marines? And then I'm here like, yeah. Well, what else do you do? He said, do you work or anything? I said, kind of. And he's like, so like, he really didn't care about your personal life.
Yeah.
Like, he would talk to you about training, and that was it. And then Louie and I got to know each other through the years. And
how was he as a leader? Like, what is stuff that you saw in the gym that he controlled the dynamic, and how he motivated people? And was he like what we saw in the last 10, 12 years, that he would say something to somebody and just wait for it to make its way around the room, and then that would motivate?
Yeah, well, that was also one of the good things about Lou. Like, you never had a problem. Because if you had a problem, you'd say to Lou, hey, Lou, I got a problem. I have this problem with this. Like, don't tell anyone. And you'd be like, oh, no, I won't tell anyone. Like, I got this problem with this girl. Oh, no, it's okay. It'll work itself out. And then you wouldn't have that problem anymore, because Louie would tell someone, and you'd tell everyone else, and everyone else would know about it, and they'd bust your balls, and you didn't have a problem anymore because you didn't fucking care. So whenever you had a problem or anything, just tell Lou. He'll get rid of that problem real quick. But, you know, not to tell war stories, but when I was in the Marines, you know, one of the most people that you respect are the ones that will walk the walk and talk the talk. Like, not your one officer that would just say, oh, go charge that hill. Lou would charge the hill with you. Like, he wouldn't expect you to do something that he wouldn't do himself. Like, if he says, okay, let's put another blue band on, he'd get under that bar and squat it too. And you just respected that. I think when I first met him, he was 50, 51.
No tattoos.
No tattoos.
Yeah.
And he'd get under that bar too, right with you. And so he'd motivate you that way too. Like, if you're here like, hell, if this fucking old man can do it, why can't I?
Yeah.
And so he would never ask you to do something that he wouldn't do himself. Like, in a way, we were all an experiment.
Yeah.
But he would also experiment on himself too.
Did you know, before he would introduce exercises or random, what would seem random events in the gym, hey, let's try this, that for the longest time, I think it was over 30 years, he had an engineer and a physicist that he would talk to, and he'd run everything through them, and then once they fully theorized it, he would bring it into the gym, and then he'd show you this random exercise that you think of, he must just came up with this, but everything had a reason.
No, I did know that. Like, he would always talk to was he an Ohio State professor or
there was
something?
one, and then there was one was Joe DeQuilla was the physicist, and then I can't remember I think it wasn't Doug. I can't remember who the engineer's name was. One was I think it was a mechanical engineer, and then the other one was a theoretical physicist.
Yeah.
And that's so everything that seemed random in the gym was always fully thought out before it got introduced.
Mm-hmm. Like, one thing about Lou, there was a method to his madness. You know, I don't think a lot of people understand that. They just said, oh, just throw bands and chains on her and all that. No, he would read the old Russian books. I mean, Russians were doing it before us dumb Americans were doing it, or brought it to the forefront. And he would tell me, yeah, I was talking to this physicist about this movement, and an engineer about this or piece of equipment or anything. I remember going out to like Van Horn's where he'd get some of his equipment made, and he'd say, "Hey, let's do this and that, and let's tweak it a little bit here." So, yeah, there was always a method to his madness.
What do you think are some of the most misunderstood things about Louis?
I'll preface this, and it's kind of a hard answer to say. There will never be someone else like him, ever. The big joke between Louis and I was, I always called him the worst father I ever had.
Yeah.
Like, I lost my dad probably about my first year at Westside. And Louis kind of took over as that father figure. Mm-hmm. He was a father figure for a lot of us. I can't tell you how many times Lou bailed someone out of jail, never asked for the money back. I can't even imagine how much money he spent on all of us dumb fucks for times that he had to bail us out of jail, pay a ticket, pay a bar tab or something like that. So there will never be someone like Lou ever again. And he was misunderstood, but in a good way, because he didn't care what anyone thought about him. Mm-hmm. That was him. If you didn't like him, fuck off. I don't care. People on the internet don't talk shit. He who doesn't care. And that's what made him so much of a character, too. Because the only thing that he said to me, Chicken Hawk, the only one I got to answer to is me. When I look in the mirror, I got to say, did I do it? Mm-hmm. Did I do it right? And that's all he cared about. And that was a big lesson in my life, too. Like, the only one I got to answer to is myself and God. And now that I have family, but family. You know, don't worry about what other people think about you. Don't worry what what they're saying about you behind your back. You do you. And it's one of those great lessons that Lou, whether he meant to teach it or not, taught everyone that. Like, he didn't care. And getting back to your first part of your question, he was Lou. Mm-hmm. And he didn't care what anyone said. Oh, you don't agree with this training method? Well, I'm proving to you that it works. I don't care what you think, but this is what works. And it's going to work. And I'll prove it to you. And so he didn't care what anyone thought. Mm-hmm. So he'll be misunderstood forever.
Do you think a part of why he cared so much about everyone was the fact that you guys cared so much about Westside Barbell? Because the one aspect, and I try to talk to many past members as possible, but still so interesting to me, is that no one was ever forced to come to Westside. No one was ever, but there was this obligation that, like, I can't leave. Or family vacation, no, I have to come. But none of this was like, no one was there dragging you in. But Louis had that respect to where you felt obligated. Like, I can't let this guy down. I can't let the club down. Yes.
Like, so Lou helped me get my elite, and it took me, I'd say at least, I don't think I got my elite until my third meet there.
What was the requisite for elite?
At 198 was totaling 1735, which nowadays seems like nothing, but we didn't have like jacked up equipment or like bench shirts that takes 1,000 pounds to get down to your chest or anything. And Lou believed in me, and I think that's why I wasn't kicked out. Yeah. Like, he believed in me, he saw potential. And my one meet where I thought I was going to get it and I didn't get it, I felt bad, but not for myself. I was pissed at myself. Yeah. But I felt bad because I felt like I let the club down. Yeah. And I let Louis down. And I said to Louis, I'm sorry that I didn't get that elite. I really thought I was. And he said, you fucked up. Now you can either dwell on it or you go to the next meet and you fucking get it. He said, you know you could do it. Mm-hmm. It's all right there. But, and he believed in people at Westside. Yeah. If he didn't like you or didn't believe in you or you weren't contributing, he showed you the door. He said, don't come back.
Well, even at that, I might be wrong, but it seemed that even people he didn't agree with, but once they contributed to the gym in some way, shape, or form, as you said, everyone has a role.
Yeah.
So you couldn't be a bad egg, but you could be there as a negative influence to positive influence the group, and everyone was there. But once you contributed to the club, that was, Lou said that you can call me whatever you want, but just don't badmouth the club. And that was the big thing.
Exactly. Like he said, you could say whatever you want about me to me, but don't disrespect the club. And we, as Westsiders, all knew that too.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to say it's like Hell's Angels.
Yeah.
But it kind of is. Don't disrespect the club. Like, there's many times when at meets where someone might have said, "Oh, Westside this, Westside." No, it's not going to fly.
Who was the biggest rivals back then? Was there any rivals? Was Big Iron around? Was that the
Big
time?
Iron started coming around, and people. I remember someone say to Lou, like, "Hey, what do you think about Big Iron?" He said, "I've seen gyms come and go. I don't care if they can lift big weights and make us better.
Yeah.
Great, more power to them."
What was that connection to Blacks like? Westside and Blacks seemed to have a pretty good connection, and one club seemed to outdo the other club when it came to crazy stories too.
Yes, well, when Matt got in trouble down in Columbus, him and Bobby Coe went up to Cleveland and trained at Blacks and lived up in Cleveland, heading out from Columbus. And so that was like the camaraderie between the two clubs. Like, oh, we got a place to train up in Cleveland. Like, and then in Cleveland, oh, we always got a place to train in Columbus. But the guys up at Blacks were great guys, old school guys that you're not going to, that they don't make anymore. And Louie and I would talk about this, like, oh, the youth of today. Like, they're more concerned about what's on social media, and they don't fucking train. Yeah. And that's what I try to instill to my boys. Like, oh, should we video this? No, you're fucking going to get under that bar and you're going to lift it. Yeah. Don't worry about what other people think. So, but the camaraderie between the two clubs was awesome.
It seemed to raise the levels. So if Blacks did something, you're like, well, we can't let them do that.
Exactly. Exactly. But at the same time, it was a friendly rivalry. Like, hey, when you're at a meet, oh, you need someone to wrap your knees? Hey, someone from Blacks and Hoss or someone will help you out. Whatever you need. So it was a friendly rivalry. Yeah. And for the most part, all the rivalries were friendly. You talk shit, and then you go kick ass at the meet, and then afterwards you go get hammered and high and chase bitches.
Who was the who do you think was the best shit talker in the gym in your group?
Louie was good. Joe McCoy was probably the best shit talker. He was a 198er, but he was fucking strong, man. Yeah. He was like no fat on him. Strong. I remember one time Eskil, he was from Sweden, was squatting. He gets under the bar and he goes to lift up the weight, and the monolift swings out and he goes, whack it, I lost my confidence. And Joe McCoy said, oh shit, you should have never said that. And so for the longest time it was like, Eskil, be careful driving, you might lose your confidence. like whack it. I still can hear it to this day because he couldn't pronounce R's and he talked in that Swedish accent. Chuck was a great shit talker too.
I've heard,
like, he was quiet, but when it was time to, he was a good one. Dave was good. We were all.
It was a very strong group, not just in strength, but just the whole. What came out of that for the next generation was huge. Yeah. Like, each generation seemed to have these foundational building blocks to where, if you look at what was done in the last 12 years, has been ridiculous. Like, Hoff got the biggest total in the world. AJ, Jake, all these guys. Yes. But it came from the foundationals that you guys, all the different generations laid down. But shit talking, is the one consistent thing at Westside that the one-liners Louis would come out with. It was timed like a comedian, and then you just have other people who couldn't shit talk get so frustrated, but it just added that other layer of I think friendship, and you just didn't want to go home knowing that fucking someone out shit talked you, outlift you, and if they did, the next day you come back in with something else.
Exactly. And like one of Louis' favorite lines to me, why would you want a Corvette body with a Yugo engine? And then so I'm here like, oh, I got to eat to get a bigger squat, and they go, you fat fuck. Like, you said I got to eat to get a bigger squat. I bet I didn't say fucking eat 5 pizzas, you fat fuck.
I heard a story, but did you break your arm?
I did.
In a meet?
I did.
And they didn't believe you?
It was at a bench meet. The one meet that my wife decides to go to, it was outside of Cleveland. I've been chasing this 500 bench for quite some time.
Yeah.
You know, like back in the 500 bench at 98 was big back then.
Yeah.
Or an accomplishment.
Who was the world record holder back then? Do you remember?
Oh, he was from Louisiana. Jesse Kellum.
Okay.
Was one of he was big. He was all 3 of his lists were phenomenal. He was a good dude. Anyways, the one meet that my wife decides to go to, I take 500 out, and so I come down with it. I'm coming it up. All of a sudden, crack. My left arm fucking breaks. I'm motherfucker. And of course, you know, the awesome spotters had landed on my neck.
Yeah.
And my wife is here like, ah. And then so Lou saying, all right, let's get him go. Let's get this meet going. Like, I'm here like, motherfucker, I just broke my arm. Give me a moment. He goes, shut the fuck up, fat ass. I want to get out of here. I need to get back. Like, Louis didn't like leaving area code 614. Like, he didn't like, so I want to go. Like, and then so I unwrapped my arm, and Doug Heath was there.
Okay.
And he said, oh, cut the shirt off. I said, don't fucking cut this shirt. He said, Chicken Hawk, your arm is pointing at 90 degrees. You're like, all right, cut the shirt. And then so I cut the shirt, and, next thing you know, I'm getting 14 screws, 2 plates, and dislocating my wrist. And I still didn't get that 500 bench. So I was fucking pissed. So fucking rehab the arm, come back. I'm not taking 500 again because I'm not letting that fucking weight beat me. Yeah. So I'm going to take 505, 510. And meet again. And Gritter was at the meet. I fucking come down, pow, blast it up. And I got like 2 reds. I'm here like, motherfucker, I'm fighting, I'm kicking someone's ass. Who the fuck threw that red? I was pissed. And Gritter's like, Chicken Hawk, will you shut up? He hit the wrong switch. And then the one judge said, well, I'm not reversing it now. We're like, oh, you fucking cocksucker. So still didn't get that 500 bench. So finally, I said to Luce, I'm here like, it's like that goal that's so close yet so far away. Yeah. He's like, you know what? Just go to this next meet. Weigh what you weigh. Don't bother cutting weight or anything like that. So I was working at the time. I was working for UPS. I was loading up the airplanes at the airport. Worked the night before on Friday. Went down to, I think it was Mike Maxwell was putting it on. And weighed in at like 210, 212, something like that. Took 505. Pow, got it.
Yeah.
Then I took 530. Pow. Then I went to 550. Easier than the first one. And Lou said, see, motherfucker, I told you. And it was just when you realize, don't dwell on shit. Like, Lou knew I could do it. I knew I could do it. Mm-hmm. But don't, all these people, they have their routines through their meets and all that. Stop thinking about it. Just go out on the platform, have fucking fun, and don't get a PR, and don't get fucking hurt.
What was some of the most fun meets you've done that you can remember?
That one was fun when you accomplish a goal. When I got my favorite meet was down in Cincinnati. Lou had a squat of 930, and my squat was on point at that meet. I was just, like when you feel that you're on that day, I'm on. So Gritter was helping wrap my knees and all that. I finally got that 900 squat under me, and that was on my second attempt. And then he said, "What do you want to take next?" I said, "Fucking 935 to beat that old fucking man." And Lou said, "All right, then fucking do it." And it was like the easiest squat I ever had in my life. And Lou said, not around anyone, of course, he said, "Chicken up, proud of you. Good job. That was a good fucking squat." And he never said he was proud of anyone.
Yeah.
So at least he never let people hear it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was like my favorite meet of all time, because I really don't care what I can bench anymore. What can someone squat and deadlift? That's how you know if you're strong.
Did you handle anyone? I mean, did you guys half and half, like half would do, half would handle and switch around?
All the time.
Who did you handle? Who was most people you handled?
Well, I would be in charge of holding Chuck's jock strap, I guess. I'd wrap his knees, make sure his suit was okay, and
what was that like? Wrapping Chuck's knee? Was there any?
Well, I didn't wrap his knees. He wouldn't. He would have Bob Coe wrap his knees, or Matt Smith, or someone like that. But I would just make sure that when I'd rewrap his knee wraps, they were good. Like when nowadays when someone's cheering on their favorite football team or something, like, and you're like, yeah, that's right. Like when someone scores, you didn't score the touchdown, but you're still happy for your team, who you're cheering on. Like when Chuck got that squat at the WPO and that deadlift, you're like, yeah, motherfucker, because that's your training partner. And in a sense that when you're training with them, you help push them, and you're so happy for them that they got it and everything. But Chuck was just in his zone at a meet. I'd wrap Blankenship's knees, Gritter's knees, if he had knees, and that. But helping out at a meet is probably worse than actually doing the meet. It's tiring as hell. Your forearms cramp up and all that. So.
Well, especially too when you have to see where people are, if they're up on deck, if they're in the hole, and then.
Well, that was a good thing about Lou. That guy knew numbers. It's like he was a fucking savant. I said, "What are you, on the spectrum?"
Yeah.
Like he would know. Sorry. He would know numbers like, "Hey, Lou, what was my PR from 2 years ago with this bar?" And he would know. It's like, how the fuck do you remember that, old man? So, but when you're at a meet, Lou would say, "You just adjust his shirt and wrap his knees." Oh, and then, okay, this is like, I remember what Panora had to do for squat. When I was wrapping his knees, he said, "Don't worry about the numbers. I'll call the numbers. You just wrap them." So,
a lot of people, I got to see a little bit of it. I think the first big meet that I got to witness here was when Donnie told 3,000. I think Mike Ferguson put on a big meet in Cincinnati. I think that was it. But the strategy Louie would do, after he'd call your squat or call anything, he was straight over to the table, give the numbers, and he would know your numbers before you even knew it. And whether you like it or not, you're doing those numbers.
And there was times when, let's say, I want to squat 800. Lou would go over the table, or Gritter or something. They'd say, "Okay, I told him 800. But meanwhile, it was like 805 or 810 or something like that. Something where they know you'd be in the running to win or something like that. So, and then there was a lot of strategy at some of these bigger meets too. Like we'd put in a number, other one would, competitor would put their number in after it, and then we'd go back to the table and say, "Yeah, we're gonna jump that." Right? So we'll go up by another 10.
Did you party any nights before meets, or did you take it serious? Because I know there's some members that we'll have on later that did some of their biggest lifts while coming off a night of partying.
Yeah. No, I'm not that much of a partier. Like Lou and I, before meet, Lou and I would go to dinner or something and then hang out, talk to some friends, and go to bed. I remember one night, who was it? it was when Bill Will Ramsey was lifting, and J&L went out and fucking got hammered the night before his meet, and so helping with a hangover was even worse.
Yeah.
But no, I wasn't that much of a partier. Now there's some guys from Blacks and stuff, and the old school Westside guys. Now they knew how to party.
Were you around the days of paper mache?
I was, yeah.
He
was the night crew.
Any stories about him, or how he got the name Paper?
Because he was built like paper mache. He'd fucking rip in half. No, one time he had to weigh in. He weighed, I think it was 220, 242. And then so he weighed in. He's up back in his hotel room eating fucking Twinkies or whatever shit it was. And Louis says, like, "Hey, Chicken Hawk, pretend they call this room number." And then so I call, and he goes, "Oh, really? Oh no. Okay, I'll send them right back down." Paper mache, they said that their scale was broke. They didn't get your weight. So he's like, "What?" And he's like got a mouthful of food. So he wouldn't make weight. So like we'd fuck with him like that. He was a good dude too. And Bob Youngs was a good dude.
Yeah.
He was real good. He was a good shit talker too. But he was at Night Crew.
Night Crew.
Mm-hmm. All these people with legit jobs.
Yeah. Well, Tom Waddle was telling me that we knew about the morning, we knew about the night crew, but for a period of time there was a little afternoon crew who came in between, who wanted to stay out of the realm of Louie and stay out of the realm of Gritter, where they just come in.
Well, Gritter and Bob Coe ran that night crew.
Yeah.
And then one time Chuck had to train at night. And then so Chuck would put on some gangster rap shit and all that, and fucking Gritter would come in and say, "Turn that fucking shit off." You know, Gritter's old school AC/DC and all that. Yeah. And Chuck would say, "Whoever fucking gets here first controls the the radio." And sure enough, Gritter would drive in from Dayton, and he said, and Night Crew would get there like at 4:00.
Yeah.
Like the evening crew. And Gritter said, "I'm not fucking letting Chuck get that radio." He said, "I'm going to get there at 3:30 and make sure that I get." Sure enough, he pulls into the parking lot, and there's Chuck's car, because Chuck knew exactly what Gritter was going to do. He said, "We'll listen to this."
Any other stories you'd like to share? Any other things that you think people would like to know about the gym, about your crews, or about Lou? Because it's hard to give any structure to these things, because we're trying to get out as much stories, and everything's still pretty fresh.
Yeah, as time goes on, some stories I don't even know if I can tell. Still, like, you know, time I was arrested and all that shit.
Yeah.
Lou liked that story. He was, "My sister sang like a canary." And then
he loved that story.
And then like the gorilla breaking into my house.
Can you tell that story is pretty funny?
Well, it was around Halloween time back in, I don't know, 2002 or so maybe. Yeah. I'm upstairs. This is before kids. I'm upstairs with my wife, and I had 3 dogs. I had Jackson, a Basset Hound. My mom never let me have a dog growing up, so I got this Basset Hound because he was short, fat, and cute and lazy like me. And then I had Samson, my bull mastiff that I bought for my wife, and then I had Daisy, the pit bull that Chuck gave me, that was Louie's dog Jackie's half sister. And we're upstairs sleeping, and this is like 4 a.m. or so, and I hear the sliding door of my house open. You're like, "What the fuck?" I look in the bed, and like all the dogs are still there. I'm like, "Karen, I think someone just broke into our house." She goes, "What? No, go back to bed." So I'm here like, "No, someone's fucking in." And of course, all the dogs are sleeping in the bed. So I go downstairs to check out, and there's this guy dressed all in black sitting at my kitchen table. I said, "Who the fuck are you?" And he gets up, and I just fucking blasted him. I popped him. And he's on the ground, and I'm just going to town on him. And the dogs finally get up, great guard dogs that they are. The Basset Hound's still sleeping in the bed. Daisy, the pit bull, is at the top of the steps protecting my wife, like barking her head out. Samson, the bull mastiff, is in this guy's face, about to tear it off. And my mom, whoops, Freudian slip. My wife calls the police come. This guy's down on the ground, and police come, and I'm just trying to look for this guy's elbow joint too, to put some paint on it, and I can't. It's like because the lights were off. I couldn't like see anything, but I could feel it. Turns out, so the police come in. They finally turn all the lights on, and it's this guy dressed in a gorilla suit. He was so drunk and high from a Halloween party, he walked into the wrong house. so, in fact, this happened like on a Thursday. The next day was a Friday or something. I said, all right, Louie, it was at breakfast. I said, oh, you got to listen to this story. And he's like, no fucking. I said, yeah, it's all true. Well, Brent Tracy was there. He's like, no fucking way. Yeah, and then sure enough, the guy still couldn't see right out of his right eye.
Did that make the news?
It did make the news. They came to interview me. It was a hot Asian girl. I'm like, oh, I got something you can interview, baby. Me love you short time.
Oh, Jesus, chicken hawk.
But one thing you got to say about, there will never be, he's an enigma. I mean, he was the worst father and the best father I ever had.
The one thing Louie was whoever he needed to be to that person.
Yes.
So if you needed an asshole, he would have been an ass because he knew, like, he had a unique talent of knowing what you needed before you did.
Mm-hmm.
And a hard thing for people to understand is if you're a powerlifter here, there's other athletes, but being a powerlifter, that's a whole different level here.
Mm-hmm.
And he sees your potential before you realize it. And no matter what you get, there's something next. So if you squat 900, okay, 915, 950, 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
And he has that way paved out for you. Yeah. And he does everything he can for you to stay that course. But he can't do it. He was, another thing with Lou is that Lou had a Doris. And for Lou to be able to do what he did, he had a whole support system. He had his whole universe, that it was his house, the gym, TJ's or Bob Evans. There was a crossover.
Yeah.
And it was that triangle. That's all. And once you came in here, you were in his world.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he led the example of, if you truly think that you're dedicated or a samurai to your art, then he just took it to another level that no one will ever be able to achieve. It's impossible.
Yeah, that's why I call Doris St. Doris, because she was a saint for putting up with his ass. And, you know, I'd say, old man, don't you have to get back to the old age home to get bingo started or something? So Lou and I would talk shit to each other all the time. Yeah. And, yeah, I'm going to miss that fucker.
Yeah, well, we missed dearly. And the shit talk is the big thing.
Yeah, I mean, he would even shit talk with my boys, too. So, for those that don't know, I have twin boys. They're 15 now, but I used to bring them into the club when they were in their car seats. And they would call Louie Grandpa Louie.
Well, I remember when he got one of them to... the Three Stooges to go up to you, and he goes, hey, come here, and he whispered one of your boys' ears, and they go to you and go, whah, straight into your eyes, and didn't pull back. Louie fell back laughing. That was the funniest shit ever. Yeah,
well, because we're old school. We like the old school Three Stooges, you know, and my boys would watch that, and they'd go up to Lou and, wise guy, eh?
So, Chicken Hawk, I appreciate you coming in, and hopefully we can get you back in for more stories as time goes on.
All right, Tom, thanks for having me, and thanks for all that you guys do for the club, too. Yeah,
appreciate it.
It means a lot, not only to me, but to all of us.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Right, thanks.